Okay, my friends, this is going to be a very interesting video for me and hopefully for you. I just discovered from a friend of mine, Frank Schiavone, that there was in the book of Jubilees a demon who was tasked with trying to corrupt humankind. And it appears to me that he was given authority by God to test humans as to whether they were really good or they were bad. And the bad ones he's just going to burn up at the end. And the good ones that resisted that temptation will find salvation. That's what I'm seeing right now, and I am in the process of exploring. I'm thinking, I'm researching, because this is new to me. The book of Jubilees, I knew about it, but there's so much stuff to look through. And the book of Enoch, same thing. But these were books that were removed from the Bible. And why? Why were they removed from the Bible? What did they say that the people that were in control of the Bible didn't want either known or were afraid to disclose? And I think it could be either way. But just so you know, the book of Jubilees was about the fallen angels and the watchers, and the chief of the Nephilim and the demons was this guy Mastema. And his job was this. All right, here's what happens. God is ready to destroy all the demons after the flood. All the demons are going to go. Now, they were still alive, apparently, or they were still present here after the flood. Now, it appears that it was their disembodied spirits. It was not really they were walking around still alive. Their disembodied spirits were here. So they were still here because they're immortal. And God was just going to put them all in condemnation. So here's what happened. When God was ready to destroy all the demons after the flood, Mastema intervenes, beseeching God to allow him to retain control of 1/10 of the demons. Now, I don't know how many were here, but the 10%, God was going to let them stay, in order to exercise his authority, because they're intended, these are 10%, are intended to corrupt and lead astray before my judgment. All right, so he's going to lead the ones that are going to be led astray. He doesn't want them. So he's going to let them lead them astray before judgment, because the evil of the sons of men is great. Mastema is the tester of humans with God's permission. Well, guess what? So am I. Exactly my message when I found the mud fossils. This is the message I received. Absolutely. It said, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. All right, that was 10, 12 years ago. And that blew me away. Because all I did was I found the giants. I had a message in my mind. I woke up one morning, I said to my wife, there's something in the woods calling my name. I just can't figure out what's going on here, but I'm compelled to go out and search in the woods for something. I don't know what it is. I thought I was maybe I'd find an arrowhead or something like that. I went out and I found giants, giant human beings, from this compulsion to go out and search. I came back looking for giants. What was said about them, really, I was really excited. And basically, one of the first things that popped up was, and it just came right up, just like you typed it in. I don't know where it came from, and I don't know where it went to. I could never find it again. But it said, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. Whew, that blew me away. Then I got other messages. We're going to be talking about this, but I am here to test you. To test everybody. And you are here to test others as well, because you are part of Mudfossil University. Mudfossil University I set up as a test for humans. Are they good or are they bad? Are they going to allow truth or are they going to disallow truth? I have found the academics are the ones that Mastema has taken control of. Not you. The academics. Because I'm sure if you're here, you're probably not an academic. They hate me. And they didn't think much of Christ either. So let's see what happens. Okay, so let's just do a little background on this. First of all, as I said, I received a message that said these things are for you to see and for others as a test. And that went on for 3 years or so, and virtually nobody passed the test. Nobody was even willing to discuss the things that I had discovered, regardless that I had DNA tests done, CAT scans, specimens coming out of my ears, and all kinds of texts that referred to these same things. And it was too scary for everybody. And academia was now exposed for what they are, because their primary function is to investigate information to make accurate decisions on what truth is. And I found that to be exactly opposite. Academia is run by Mastema. He's taken control of them, and they now own society. You cannot stand up to them without being destroyed. They will ruin your life. They will force you to be considered to be an idiot if you don't repeat word for word what they say. If you come up with any kind of a, alternate way of thinking about things, you're destroyed. And literally that's what happens. It's called peer review. If they say, no, this guy's way out of the side of the box, you're off the stage. You're done. Now, here's what happened with Mastema. And again, I have found the giants, I have found the dragons, I have found virtually everything that was written in the past seems to hold water. I can't find anything that was written in the ancient text that I can absolutely say that's impossible. No, it's not true. No, I find everything is absolutely, totally supported by material evidence, or certainly has a possibility of being true. So what happens with Mastema? This was in the book of Jubilees. Right? There's the book of Enoch. Again, these are the two that were very, very well accepted, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. Jubilees is still, and I think Enoch too, is still in the Ethiopian text, which I give them a lot of credit. These people, all of these cultures that we think are just crazy people banging on drums and running around with flags and things, well, I'm finding out those are the ones that are the most sane. We thought they were crazy. Oh, they're just silly people talking about dragons and giants and monsters and demons and, And I thought the same thing. I thought these people are idiots. How did they get to be so crazy? They're just morons. Well, when I realized who the moron was, and I was looking in the mirror. So it's time to at least examine these without complete dismissal, which is exactly what happened at Yale and Harvard and all of the Ivy Leagues. It's become poison ivy now. There is no truth there whatsoever. And God wrote about this. He said there will be false teachers, and their destruction does not sleep. Look up 2 Peter 2. All right, here we go. These are my guys, Jesse Garant. They did all my CAT scans, 7 CAT scans. They have 2 places, and I think the one's in Canada and one's in the United States. Absolutely the best CAT scans you will ever get from anybody, and the service was outstanding. Now, and they proved my mud fossils, them and the people that did the DNA. And now all of them were so attacked, I'm sure that they are hesitant to get back into that boiling soup again, because I was so attacked, you can't even imagine the repercussions against me for making these statements. Now, however, God is with me. Here's what God says about these teachers, about Yale University, as far as I'm concerned specifically. There were also false prophets among the people back then, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the Master who bought them with his own life, bringing swift destruction on themselves. Many will follow in their depravity because they think these guys are the ones to follow, and they are going to follow them. These are the ones that have been taken over by Mastema. So many will follow them, and because of them, the way of truth will be defamed. And it's nothing but lies and fraud. At Yale, is as far as I'm concerned, plagiarism and fraud is the way that they do business down there. Many will follow in their depravity, and because of them, the way of truth will be defamed. Absolutely. I have been defamed. Velikowski's been defamed. Everybody that's come up with any credible information has been defamed by lies and fraud. All right? In their greed, these false teachers will exploit you with deceptive words. It's just all nonsense. And they're using them. At Yale, I think it's $70,000 a year or something to get trained down there to become an idiot. The long-standing verdict against them remains in force, and their destruction does not sleep. Now, this life is one life. All right? Mine's so far 75 years of life. I don't expect it to last a whole lot longer, and I don't really care. Because nobody gets out alive. Nobody. Your physical body is going to be gone at some point. Some of them just about at birth, and some of them 100 years old or whatever. But what happens then? What happens to your spiritual body? All right, because what the Master is talking about is his demons. Apparently, they were all physically removed, but their spirits were still on the earth and wanted to corrupt mankind. And they took up residence down at Yale University. And that's where they live now, I think. And they are here to destroy mankind, to make you so stupid that you are going to be the ones that are going to be taken to the bad side. God won't want you. Your mind has been destroyed, and you cannot think for yourself. If you can't think for yourself, God's not going to want you. God says, my greatest joy is to see that my children walk in truth. Jesus said, seek. Do not stop seeking until you find. When you find, you will be disturbed and you will marvel. And he also said, the earth is a corpse and a body, and either a corpse and a body, or a corpse littered by bodies, because it is both of those things. And all of that I have proven with the help of God, or whoever he sent. I never saw anybody, I never talked to anybody. All I did was receive these messages. I woke up, I got to go search for something. I found the giants, I came back. It's a test. Everybody failed the test. I was sitting here about 3 or 4 years later, very, very depressed, because I was given the task to present the test, and I was so crushed. I had to everything. They closed all my channels, and I closed them because I was being so assaulted. My family didn't want anything to do with me because they thought I had gone crazy. Everybody thought I went crazy. So I was really not in a good position at that point, and mentally I was distressed. Here's what happened to me. I told you I had no more messages. I'm sitting here very, very distraught. And I literally was saying, God, you chose the wrong person. I can't do this. Nobody will listen to me. I have no credentials. I was never amongst those people that I can confront. They have put me off to the side, and I have no way of getting this information out. And I heard literally like words coming out of the air. And it said, look in Morocco. Right? This was what I heard from behind me. I turned around and looked to see where it came from, and there was a car commercial on my TV, but it didn't say anything about Morocco. And when I heard it, I said, this is too crazy to ignore. So here's what I did. I looked in Morocco, and here's what I found. Okay, so here I am in deep despair, and I hear, look in Morocco. So I look in Morocco, and I found Typhon. And I would have never known about Apollodorus. This is Apollodorus. All right, it's a library of Apollodorus. This was written a couple of hundred BC, 200 BC or so, let's say. But they don't know. Nobody really has any idea. But this talks about the earth literally being a creature and having sex with the sky and bringing forth all these giants and monsters. And nobody would ever believe this. It's just insane, basically insane. But when I got to where the War of the Giants in Typhon, because I was studying all the giants, anything I could find, and here I find this. All right, Earth gave birth to all these monsters, and then the gods, of Zeus was one of them, killed all of Earth's children, which were the giants and the monsters. So Zeus smote all the giants and destroyed them with thunderbolts, all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. I say this is a true story. Now, here's why I say it. When the gods had overcome the giants, so the gods killed all the giants, which were Earth's kids, Earth was enraged. She had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon, a hybrid between man and beast. So he was partially man, partially beast. But the only part of him that was man was his thighs, and they mention it specifically. In size and strength, he surpassed all the offspring of earth. As far as his thighs, he was of human shape and of such prodigious bulk, he out-topped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. Now, he was 1,100 miles long. 1,100 miles. I'll show him to you in a minute. Now, that means he was pretty way up there in the sky. Now, at one time, the stars could have been closer to the Earth, because the Earth could not support these creatures the way the Earth is now. I agree. But the Earth is the way the Earth is now. So don't start with this flat Earth stuff. All you have to do is look from the space station. I am a scientist. I want you to believe in Christ and God and all of these things I'm showing you if you feel it's true. But you have to be reasonable about the way you think. You can't just say somebody wrote the earth was flat and now it's still flat. No, it coalesced into a sphere, apparently, because I can't see all these creatures being as big as they are. I have no explanation other than that they were extraterrestrial, apparently. Now, Typhon attacked the gods. She brought him into the earth, Typhon, to attack the gods, and he did. All right? And listen to this very carefully. Typhon was hurling kindled rocks he made for the very heavens, hissing and shouts, spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth. When the gods saw him rushing at heaven, they made for Egypt in flight, and being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. And Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance in thunderbolts and cut him down and all this business. But remember, Zeus killed Typhon. Typhon was trying to kill the gods, and they changed into animals. One of the gods apparently changed into a fish, because Typhon, spitting great jets of fire and nastiness, got the fish. And I'll show you. Okay, so here I go, looking at Morocco, and boom, this is exactly what I find is Typhon, the one I just talked to you about. And I found every detail about him, and he fits exactly identical to what they said. And his throat was cut with a great and mighty sword right there, and he bled out in the desert right here. This is his throat, all the way up till it reaches where he was spitting fire. These are dragon scales. They're not just little hills and valleys. All of this stuff is the runoff of effluent of bodily tissues decomposing, basically. And here's where he was spitting out, killing a giant fish that he was attacking, which was one of the gods that had transformed itself into a fish. And this is exactly identical to what it says in Apollodorus. And here's his beards right here. We'll come look at them again. These are the two beards, and it looks like the beard is what's squirting out this nasty, nasty stuff. So the beards had a purpose. They weren't just hanging there for nothing. So now, just to make sure you understand the sequence of events here, I had all my research done. I had CAT scans, I had DNA tests, I had specimens, I had chemistry, I had everything done. And it was refused, and Yale refused to allow it to be seen there. I kept sending them stuff. No, you're just rocks, they're just rocks. We had CAT scans done where they recommended the only place they would accept. That turned into an absolute nightmare. They just didn't want to get involved. They just didn't want it. And then I sent all my information to NASA because I could see on Mars, it was exactly the same stuff. The exact same body parts are up on Mars. The Mars crab, the Mars blueberries, and the Mars Morse code is all body parts. I sent it to NASA. NASA ends up funding Yale for a study on mud fossils. And then they said yes. And basically they told NASA exactly what I told Yale in my paper about fascia-facilitated fossilization, how it happened. They mimicked exactly what I said. So I see that as plagiarism. Because I was working with Derek Briggs, who's now taking credit for that research. They call it a Yale-led team. So I contacted my senators, I contacted the Secretary of Education, I contacted everybody. But I've been doing it for years. This goes back 8-9 years ago now. It was 2015. I wrote my book and my paper and all that final stuff. I had all my DNA tests, my CAT scans, everything. And that's when academia just absolutely destroyed me. And they did the same thing to Velikovsky. Now, Velikovsky was a different story. He didn't have the information I have. Nobody can deny the things that I have. I have DNA, and you can retest them. It's not that they can't be retested. Now, Velikovsky didn't have any hard, solid dragon scales to present. You see, here's that fish that he was spitting fire and kindled rocks at. All right, and that's exactly what it talks about in Jubilees and so forth. We got a lot of looking into it. And he hit the fish right on his back with this fire, and that came right out of his beard. Remember I said it would come out of the beard? Look at this. Here's his throat. All right, let's just back off here. All right, now, if you're new to this, pay attention. This is where his throat was cut, right down here. And this is on ancient maps, which I will show you. They show him on the maps. They knew he was here. And he had a throat cut right here. Now, up comes his throat. Out of his nose, he was blowing out smoke and all kinds of stuff. And this fed in down here. So from up in his nose, it comes down and meets with the whisker here that comes down. So these two meet together and creates absolute havoc. You see that? That's his beard. That's the whisker in the front. That's the whisker in the back. The back one doesn't seem to be doing much, but something's going on over here. I don't know what. I haven't figured out what the chemistry is here. But it's doing something over here, quite obviously. What? Je ne sais pas. All right, but this side is spitting out some nasty stuff. And that is what attacked the fish. And it all came down, squirting down here, flame and destruction, and ate right into his back of the back of the fish. This is the fish. That's a big size fish. Now the dragon here goes all the way from here, all the way across North Africa. And here is his flared tail. All right, because that's going to be on the map too. It'll show his tail going out here, and then it'll flare right out like that. And it'll show his neck coming right up here, and it'll show it cut. It's exactly the same. You want to see it? Of course you do. And again, that's here he is. And here's what the map shows. There's his head coming back this way. There's his throat is cut. There's his body, runs all the way back. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to look into that a little closer. And then it comes back to his flared tail. That's exactly what I just showed you. He runs all the way across North Africa. All right, they knew about this. And this goes back to 1375. This is called Atlas Catalan Abraham Kresk. Now, I have everybody sending me, send me information on this. There it is right there. There's the name of it. All right? If you want to look it up and see if you can find it, because I don't know where it is now. I don't have a lot of access to these things anymore. I had so much stuff I just abandoned years ago, and all I got is pictures left here and there. But anyway, and I got all my papers up on academia.edu and other places. But anyway, there he is. All right, and that's the dragon in the desert. And here's what they show him in the ancient drawings they show him with the coils of a viper, which I agree. But his thighs coming down to here were human. And I'll show you that in a minute. And then Typhon cut his throat with his great and mighty sword, which was thunderbolts, they claim. And which, I don't know how much they knew about technology, the people that were writing these books. I don't know, maybe he had lasers. I have no idea. But I know they had to be pretty damn advanced. So let's get back to Google Earth and take a look at his thighs. Here they are right here. This is thighs coming down. And I've looked at them. They have the same muscular look to them as a human's thigh if it eroded. I looked at that pretty carefully. And I have no reason to doubt what that is about. It's the thighs. And then down here, there's coils. This is still his coils. And if you look down here real careful, you got to wait and let it soak in. Look at this. Those are not sand dunes. Those are leathery, like almost like ostrich hide. Let it soak in. It's going to take a second. You see that? Let me back out of here. It's a little too close. You see that? That's if you go to somebody that's a tanner and you ask them, what is this stuff? If they tan hides, they'll say, well, it's some kind of ostrich hide or some kind of hide. These are the tabs that lock in the tissues so that they can move this way and that way and so forth, but they come back to where they're locked in here and there. That's not just patterns of sand dunes. Not at all. And why would it just stop right there, too? I mean, you got to pay attention to the details. I'm a detail guy. And this, my friends, is leather, or in this case, it's a viper coil. See it come all the way down here? They said it was so big they could go all the way up to his head and emit loud hissing. And the other one goes off this way. It is what it is. And he was attacking the gods, and this one turned himself into a fish and was pretty well smacked. This eroded the scales right off the face, and down in here is nothing but bodily tissue, and you can see all of the arteries coming down, and then you can see where the arteries turn into the blood vessels, and then you can see where the blood vessels turn into the capillaries. That's blood, and blood grows things very nicely. That's why that's the only place anything growing here is in the blood. And then it's the artery, and then the blood vessels come off the arteries, and then they end up squirting through the capillaries down into the lymph nodes and the veins to get recycled. And the only reason you can see this is because that venom eroded the whole surface of the fish. It's very, very toxic. And I showed over here how this area where, see a green here? This is lymph. The lymph is trying to remove the toxin so that it doesn't keep eating into the fish, and it couldn't do it, and the lymph nodes became destroyed. This is biology on steroids. I can show you filters and everything, which I've been showing over and over and over and over and over for years now. Nobody pay attention. It's time for the Secretary of Education to get involved in this and say, this is crazy. We're teaching our kids just to be little robots to repeat what they're told, or they will they'll destroy their life. That's not right. And that's exactly what the ancient texts say. That you'll be taught by false teachers, and they'll exploit you with tales they have concocted. And boy, I'm telling you, the tales they have concocted are just amazing. When they can see this kind of evidence in the DNA and the CAT scans and all of that stuff, dismiss it, and still force the students to repeat what is obviously not true. It's fraud. And it's fiduciary failure. And not only that, it just doesn't relate to Bible things. And this is history, paleontology, archaeology, geology, everything related to that. The only thing in academia that this doesn't relate to is like programming and material science, actual learning how to paint and learning how to build a house. That's the only thing it doesn't. Everything else, what we've been taught was not true. Same thing with the physics. I have the evidence of the light particles, and Jesus said, "We are the light." That was also dropped into my lap, all at the same time. Jesus says, if they ask you where we came from, tell them that we came from the light, where the light comes of its own accord, which is the sun. The sun, it says we are children of that sun. We are children of the light. All of this fell into my lap. Where did I read you some of the things that just dropped on me? The first one was about those stones would cry out. That's the first one that I got was, here, I'm going to start it off. Here goes. You see this? This is Luke 19:40. It says, what does it mean that the rocks will cry out? And there's hundreds of different quotes about rocks. And you are the cornerstone, you are the rock, you are this and that. Now, the mention of rocks or stones crying out is found in the context of the triumphal entry where Jesus comes back into Jerusalem. Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem, a week before he was killed, Jesus rode on the back of a borrowed donkey's colt. And multitudes of people praised him as the king who comes in the name of the Lord, which scared the hell out of the Pharisees. When the Pharisees in the crowd heard the people's worship directed at Jesus, they said to him, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples, tell them to shut up." The Pharisees had to know they were powerless to stop the excitement of the people who were seeing real honest miracles and truth from Jesus Christ. So they called on Jesus to stop what they believed to be blasphemy. Well, I don't know if they believed it to be blasphemy or they just were scared of losing their power. All right, Jesus replied, "I tell you, if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." And then they're trying to make sense of, well, what does that mean? Well, I know what it means because the stones have cried out. Now, listen to this. These are just some things just dropped on me. So the stones are crying out. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. 3 John 1:4. Job. This is about Typhon. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. That's Typhon. And then we go to the false teachers, 2 Peter 2, false teachers and their destruction. There were also false prophets among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the sovereign Lord who bought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. Many will follow their depraved conduct and will bring the way of truth into disrepute. In their greed, these teachers will exploit you with fabricated stories. Their condemnation has long been hanging over them, and their destruction has not been sleeping. These are the teachers, and basically I have found no academic, not a single one, has been able to address anything that I've said other than to say the guy's insane, don't listen to him, he's dangerous, he's a moron, blah, 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 some very, very nasty remarks. And not a single address to the evidence, none, zero. Not a single one. And I've been trying, I'm not a quiet guy. Now, here's another one. This is 2 Timothy 4, 3-4. It says, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine." They just can't, they're just liars now, frauds. And they, according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers, false teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to fables, which are the teachers, what they're teaching now. Just fables, just stories that say, don't listen to any of that stuff was written. Oh, those religious people, they're just insane. Well, we got a problem. Now, what do I got here? Earth is totally balanced until us. We were supposed to help Earth, our mother, not exploit and destroy. God is upset and will lash out. I guess that's my words. Now, this is, and the 24 elders who sit on their thrones before God fell on their faces and worship God, saying, we give thanks to you, Lord God Almighty, the one who is and who was. You have taken your great power and begun to reign. The nations were enraged, and your wrath has come. The time has come to judge the dead and to reward your servants, the prophets and saints, and those who fear your name, both small and great, and to destroy those who destroyed the earth. And that includes the academics, because they won't listen to anything about truth. They have made up all these false stories to exploit so that they can have all this money for themselves. It's all about funding now. That's the only thing it is. Here's another, Jude 1:4. For certain individuals whose condemnation was written about long ago, which are the teachers, have secretly slipped in among you. They're revered. They're revered. And we pay them to indoctrinate our children. They are ungodly people. They don't want God. You can't talk about God there. That's, oh, no, it's not here. No, not around us. No God here. They pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus Christ, our only sovereign and Lord. That's true. Now here's us. Here's us. Here is us. Listen to this careful, because this is you and this is me. Now I am revealing these things to you. I am testing you in the name of God to do what you should do, and this is what you should do. Consider, this is 1 Corinthians 1:27. Brothers, consider the time of your calling. This is the time of your calling and my calling. Not many of you were wise by human standards. You're not all PhDs, thank God. Not many were powerful. You're not going to be powerful at all unless you do the bad things. Not many were of noble birth. Those ones that are noble birth teach their kids to become just like they are. God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. I've always been called foolish. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly and despised things of the world and the things that are not to nullify the things that are. That is certainly me. And I hope it's you. Because if you fall into this category, it means you didn't give in. You didn't give in to the demons. Matthew 3:9. And do not presume to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as our father, for I tell you that out of these stones God can raise up children for Abraham, whatever that means. All right, the world hates the disciples. They hate disciples. They hate anybody that tries to go against them. If the world hates you, keep in mind it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. It would think you're great. Oh, yeah, they're fabulous. Oh, I can repeat everything we told them to say. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. They don't know God. They have no clue about God. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. We have spoken. They know about this. They have been spoken very carefully since Jesus Christ came. He came as a warner. He said, I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Pay attention to me. You're in trouble. Don't follow these guys. They're not good guys. So if you didn't know, well, you're not guilty. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. So this is Jesus speaking. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, he brought people back to life, he did all kinds of crazy things, they would not be guilty of sin. I showed them everything, he's saying. I showed them everything. There's no way in the world they can deny the things I showed them. Just like right now, the things I'm showing, there's no way in the world they could deny it. And they are still teaching lies. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. I've showed them, they hate me, I can tell you that. But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason. All right? This I wrote, I don't know, I was going to send it. Can others please share this and confront others? Do not hide in shame. I understand why others will not help in my efforts. They are rightfully afraid. In my opinion, they will be attacked. I was attacked and I won. Well, I really never won, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I won. They can do whatever they want. I showed the ones that are listening, if you're seeing this, you're special. And if you're special, you better fulfill your obligations to make sure that everybody understands this too. You don't confront people nasty, but do not hide in shame. Do not hide in shame. Do not hide in shame. And you have to understand, this is a traumatic slap in the face to most people. This is a complete change in what they have been taught to believe. This overrides everything. I don't care whether you're a Christian or a Jew or anything, or you're atheist or agnostic. I don't care what you are. This really, really changes, or it really puts a whole new spin on things. You take it however you want. As it's spinning, you grab it and stop it wherever you want. But it's going to spin, and it's going to spin your head. And that's just what it is. All right, they're rightfully afraid that you're going to be attacked. All right, you'll be on blocked. I'm ignored, blocked, and on spam lists. So basically, I have been unheard for years and years. Starting to get a few people paying attention. So, and again, here's the false prophets among the people. There'll be false teachers introducing destructive heresy, like to forget God and Jesus and all that. There were all these people were crazy back then. And if you follow them, you're going to be in the same position they're in. All right? See what's in front of your face. There is nothing hidden. Jesus said, recognize what is in your sight, and that which is hidden from you will become plain. You just have to recognize it. It's been hidden from you, but it's plain. It's right there. Everything will become manifest if you're paying attention. In that day the Lord will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, with his fierce and great and mighty sword. There's when he killed Typhon. Even Leviathan, the twisted serpent, he had the coils, the twisted serpent, and he will kill the dragon who lives in the sea, which is Typhon, I guess. Or maybe they're two different things, I don't know. All right, temptations and trespasses. Jesus said to his disciples, it is inevitable that stumbling blocks will come. And boy, that's the truth. But woe to the one through whom they come. Put stumbling blocks in front of us, and it will not come good for you. It would be better for him to have a millstone hung around his neck and to be thrown into the sea than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. Watch yourselves. Luke 17:2. It goes on and on and on. I got them. There's dozens. It could be hundreds. And Apollodorus is not the Bible. It's not even close to the Bible. Well, it is and it isn't. The Bible was written in such a way as to present enough evidence in godly-ish stuff that it wasn't so overwhelming, like there's 1,000-mile dragons and there's all these kind of stuff. That all stuff, the giants and everything, they took out most of that with Enoch and Jubilees and so forth, and the Colburn Bible, and all of these other texts that were written that did talk about the true sizes of things and how things were just absolutely crazy. Apollodorus is just off the wall crazy. And Ovid, same thing with metamorphosis. All the gods could transform into anything they want. Jupiter was Zeus, and he was in control of the solar system, and he could turn himself into a buff-looking, hot-looking guy and come down to Mount Olympus and having sex with all the women. That's exactly what was written. And that was written about one of the angels, or one of the gods that was put in charge of the solar system, took 200 of the fallen angels and had sex parties and had a bunch of women, and then they created these monsters and giants as offspring that were, as Enoch said, were 3,000 ells tall. An ell back then was 45 inches, not 18 inches, 45 inches. 3,000 makes about 2.5 mile tall guy, and that's not out of the question at all. Not even close out of the question. The dragon is 1,100 miles long. You'd have to have a half a dozen or more of those guys a day, more than that probably, just to get by. All right, let's sort of wrap this up a little bit, but this is the Gnostic text. Were just discovered in 1945. The same thing with the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're just discovered during this particular point in time, right after World War II, when they were trying to wipe the Jews out. Now, they found these texts, and this was Jesus speaking. These are the Gnostic texts. Gnostic means knowledge, knowing, understanding. And they were not allowed to speak about these things because of the Pharisees would kill you. That's why they killed Jesus, and they killed all of them. They stoned them, they burned them at the stake, they did all these things. Now, these are the sayings written by Doubting Thomas, who was Jesus' scribe. He wrote down the things, the secret sayings which the living Jesus spoke, and Doubting Thomas wrote down. Now, it says, he who finds the interpretation of these sayings will not experience death. So if you're paying attention and you do your research, you may get out of just death, meaning I'm not sure what death they're talking about, because everybody's going to die. Your spiritual death, apparently, he must be talking about. Now, Jesus said, let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. Now let's examine that statement. Let him who seeks. So if you don't seek, you're a wasted human life, basically. You just wasted. You let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. So here's what Jesus is saying. You should seek, and don't stop seeking until you find what you've been looking for, and really solidly. And when he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all. Now, you got to seek, or you're just a wasted life. And secondly, you will become troubled, and you will become astonished. All right? Now, and then it goes on to say a whole bunch of things, and, you don't want to just pay attention to somebody that's older than you. You can ask a young child, 7 days old, about the place in his life. Recognize what's in your sight, which is hidden from you will become plain to you, for there's nothing hidden that will not be manifest. And it goes on, there's a whole lot of things to understand here. But let me just go up to number, I think it's 56, talks about the world being a corpse. Right? Jesus said, whoever has come to understand the world has found only a corpse. Whoever has found a corpse is superior to the world. Listen to this. 50 is the one that really excited me. Well, that one excites me too, but Jesus said, if they say to you, where did you come from? His disciples, say to them, we came from the light. All right, I'm going to show you light in a second. Light, the place where the light came into being. It all of a sudden you had light on its own accord. It just let there be light. It just came into being on its own accord. That's the sun. and established itself and became manifest through their image. Now, the only place that light comes from on its own accord, just automatically comes out, is the sun in this region. And it became manifest through their image, which whoever their image was, it appears to be our image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children, children of the light. We are the elect of the living Father. Our particular molecules have been elected to be the ones that are life. There's a lot of molecules that aren't life. We have a special spark, and which is your elect. You're one of the selected. All right, say, if they ask you, what is the sign of your Father in you, which is the light? Say to them, it is movement and repose. In other words, light can go whoosh and be powerful, or it can just lay back and do nothing. And light is energy. Light is the energy of everything. All right. So we had that. We had 56. And then 80 talks about being a body, being bodies, or a body. Jesus said, he who has recognized the world has found the body, but he who has found the body is superior to the world. Now, is Jesus again talking about the corpse, or is he talking about all the bodies that are on the earth? I don't know. But anyway, that's the Nag Hammadi text, Nag Hammadi library. And they found all of these scrolls that were secreted away because they knew that they would be destroyed if they were found, and secondly, they would all be killed. That's why they were hiding out in these caves way out in the wilderness. Okay, my friends, I think it's your obligation to contact anybody that has any reach and tell them to come to Mudfossil University and see the evidence that I have presented about our ancient past. I've tried to contact everybody. This is the Secretary of Education, and he literally lives right down the street from me. He's within a few miles of where I live. And I contacted Fox News. I've not gotten a response from him, but I did post on his Facebook page and says I'm one of his top fans, or top fan badge. But I'd rather have a response from him about learning reality in schools. He is the Secretary of Education, and he's only down the street from me. He could literally walk over here and to see my mud fossils, and I'm perfectly willing to give him a full demonstration of what I have here. So I've contacted him, waiting for a response. I did get a response from Chris Murphy, who is one of my senators, and he said they will look into this thing. He gets staff meetings every week. I think it was more of like a form letter, but he says they take everything into consideration, and I told him that I wanted him to look into the plagiarism and so forth, which happened to me at Yale University, because you can't get anywhere with them without having some very heavy hitters, and a senator is a pretty heavy hitter. So, and you should have senators too, and you should have somebody that can stand up. I'm trying to get everybody. Now, I would expect to hear from Miguel Cardona. We'll find out if that happens. But in the meantime, consider the time of your calling. And I'm telling you right now, I'm very, 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 very serious about this, and you should be as well. Okay, this has been going a while now, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Mastema was one of these demons. I know we went through this in the beginning. I just want to reiterate, this is the guy that's in charge of the teachers, I believe. And Mastema was a demon. He appeared in the book of Jubilees, which they don't allow anybody to read, basically, except the Ethiopians. He pleads with God to permit the spirit of the dead Nephilim, which is the spirit. So the Nephilim are dead, but their spirits are still active on earth. So he wanted to put them all in condemnation, but he wanted 10% of them to remain on earth. all right, so that they could corrupt and lead men astray prior to judgment. So the ones that can get led astray, he doesn't want them anyway. So he figured, well, what the hell? I'm going to give them 10%. So because there was great wickedness in men, God condemned all the demons to descend into condemnation except a tenth. So 10% of them could stay. And it's all this stuff is all written about in these Dead Sea Scrolls and all of that in the books of Jubilee. And he is the angel of disaster, the father of all evil, flatterer of God. He's just a fraud. He is said to have become a fallen angel. He first appears in the literature of the Second Temple period as a personification of the Hebrew word meaning hatred, hostility, enmity, persecution. He as a person, he represents all this. And all of those things were in the ancient myths. There was personification of love, of hate, of thought, of pleasure, of anger, of, all of these different emotions had a God that controlled them. And at this point, I can't deny that that's possible. All right, he was the chief of the Nephilim, the demons endangered by the fallen angels called Watchers engendered. According to the Book of Jubilees, Mastema, who is a hostility, he's the one that creates all the conflict on earth, and there is so much conflict. He's a powerful guy. He creates hostility as the chief of the Nephilim, the demons engendered by the fallen angels. All right, here's the way you got to think about this. Mastema is the chief of the Nephilim. The Nephilim were the children of the fallen angels. Basically, they were the demons that were created by the fallen angels, which were called Watchers. And they had sex with the human women, and they gave rise to all these things. And the book, it goes on and on and on. I'm going to leave this for now. I can't leave without making this last point here on the Book of Jubilees. This Mastema, his actions and name indicate he is the adversary. He's really against God. But in Jubilees, he is more like the character who appears in the book of Job, with a function to fulfill under God rather than the Satan of later tradition, who is the uttermost enemy of God. Apparently Satan and God just hate each other and they want to kill each other or whatever. Beliar, mentioned twice in Jubilees, is likely to be identical with Mastema in this work. Now, whatever that means. But the thing you want to take away from this is that Mastema is not Satan, they're saying. They're saying he's actually working for God to get rid of the people that can be easily swayed. And his 10% are there to sway humans to go astray. He's intended to corrupt and lead astray before my judgment, because the evil of the sons of men is great. So any ones that want to just do bad stuff and not, he's the tester. He is the tester of humans with God's permission. Well, he's the tester if they can not accept bad. I'm the tester of can you accept the truth? He's the tester of will you accept lies, and they will. I'm the tester of will you accept truth, and most will not. So that's why I say I am the tester, and I am authorized by God. I don't care what you say. All of these messages and stuff, that's not coincidence as far as I'm concerned. I'm nobody special, trust me, and I got a lot to, and I feel terrible a lot about things I have done in my life, and I hope you do too, if you have done anything bad, and there's very few that haven't. And you can be forgiven, it appears. I'm still working on this. I'm still working on it. I love you all. Thanks for paying attention. And again, this is the time of your calling. It's up to you to try to make this thing understood, especially by the people you love. I'm trying to get through people, but it's just almost impossible. So, but you can't do it in a hard-hitting way. You just have to show the evidence and say, these were the things that were written, here's the evidence that exists today. Then they have to make up their own mind. All right, now I'm going to just read to you some of these, and again, these just fell on me. And I'm going to tell you what's going on with the control over society. I hate people that try to force you with beat you into submission, basically, and scream and yell, oh, God is going to punish you, and blah, 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 blah. No, that's not the way to do it. You present the evidence, and then that person takes their own course of action. Now, in the universities, they don't come out and scream at you. They just tell you what they want you to say, and if you don't say it, they fail you and destroy your life. So they don't have to scream. They have the power. They literally have a gun to your head. When you go there, you have paid them a whole batch of money, put yourself in debt, probably. Or you've been one of the fortunate that had enough money to just pay for your way. But let's say you go to them, whatever, you are paying them a ton of money, and all they're doing is saying, if you don't say what we tell you to say, we'll ruin your life. That's peer review. Peer review means everybody has to say the same thing. And I have nothing but, for years, all I ever heard was, is that peer reviewed? Where's the peer review? Where's your citations? Where's your this or that? And they obviously won't talk to me because they know that I have the evidence that shows that they're wrong, and everything they've been saying is wrong, and they don't care. That's the key. I understand being wrong. I've been wrong a lot. But when I'm wrong, I want to be corrected, and then I try to make myself understood how I feel now. And I still might be wrong. But you have to open your mind up. You can't say, no, this is all settled. You're an idiot because you didn't go to our Ivy League schools. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Well, no, I didn't. I went to enough schools I went to a lot of Ivy League schools, but I didn't go there and pay them. You can go online to almost any school you want for free. Coursera lets you go anywhere you want in the world, basically for free. I've gone to Yale and Rice and University of Geneva and Johns Hopkins and all kinds of them. But you just sign up for the course, and you don't get any certificate. But I don't care about the certificate. I want to learn what they have to say, and then I will confront them with the true evidence that I have. And so far, that confrontation has met with dead silence. And that's exactly what God said. So let's read these statements that are from the ancient text, God, and who knows where. But we're going to start reading them. Here it comes. Boy, I didn't know how many there were. Listen to this. Romans, whatever. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. That's academics. The stones of the wall will cry out, and the beams of the woodwork will echo it. Let your dead live together with my dead body. Let them arise, awake, and sing. You who dwell in dust, which is people that are dead, are the dust now. For your dew is a dew of light. Light is where we come from. And let earth give birth to the departed spirits. Departed spirits are the Rephaim. Go, my people, enter your rooms and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourself, as it were, for a little while, until the displeasure is past. For look, Yahuwah is coming out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their crookedness, and the earth shall disclose her blood, and no longer cover her killed ones. And that's what's happened right now. I'm finding blood everywhere and killed ones everywhere, because Yahuwah apparently is coming down to punish the inhabitants. Now, living stones, coming to him as to a living stone, rejected indeed by men, but chosen by God and precious. You also, as living stones, are being built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. You are part of this. You're part of Mudfossil University. You've been in the crosshairs now. You are being tested right now. You're being tested. It's up to you how you respond. The third angel poured out his bowl into the rivers and springs of water, and they turned to blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Righteous are you, O Holy One, who is and who was, because you have brought these judgments. This is going to happen. And it goes on and on and on. In the last days, I'll pour out my spirit, and it goes on and on and on. So, as far as I'm concerned, I am taking all of this stuff and reconsidering it, because I had no concept of this. Okay, this just came in 7 minutes ago, 8 minutes ago now, which I wrote to Senator Christopher Murphy, which is, he seems like a nice guy. And he did respond quite positively to my complaints about Yale. And I said, I have DNA certified giant humans. Yale will not allow them seen. Basically, that's what happened. Now, Yale could just say, oh, well, we don't care about them. Well, why don't they care about them? Aren't they educational institution? It appears that they are the destroyers of education to me, and I want this handled. And he says he's looking into it. They're going to look into this. He gets a report once a week from his staff, and the staff is going to look into this, is what he says. Now, I will keep you informed as to what Chris Murphy is doing as my senator. Now, Blumenthal, I sent it to him too, and I don't think he's interested. There was, you're going to have to do this or go see somebody else. Basically, I got from him. Now, I also sent it to the Secretary of Education, who is basically right down the street from me. He's in between me and Yale, and I am like 20 miles from Yale, and I am probably a mile or two from the Secretary of Education. I haven't heard from him, but I have tried multiple times on all of these. I don't remember contacting Chris Murphy before, and this is encouraging. Who knows? We're going to see. But I tried everybody else, literally everybody, all the institutions and political people and everybody, and they all just either never responded, or they responded negatively, or they said they don't have any idea and they can't do anything, and that's what's happened. And they have been the ones that are now under the control of the deniers of reality, the ones that literally are against God. And I'm going to show you some quotes I have that are things that just dropped in my lap. When I found all these things, all of this stuff dropped in my lap, including Typhon in the desert. And look at this. I just got this today. I published a whole bunch of papers, and one of my publications was Life as an Alternative Geological Process Leading to Observed Mineral Concentrates and Rock Formations. And at the same time, right over the top of this comes this. Science develops a brain organoid for fetal tissue to revolutionize neurological research. We're creating new creatures basically now. That happened back at the time that I'm talking about, back when they were playing around with humanity. This is pretty serious. This is not just a joke, my friends. This is as serious as it gets. You see, this is hysterical. I sent my information to Secretary Miguel Cardona, Secretary of Education, I was just talking about a minute ago. And I get my earned top badge from him. No response as to what I was talking about. I also sent it to Fox News. I sent it to everybody. Now they send me, boy, you're one of the best people we have. Here's your badge. These badges mean ridiculously nothing. They just to try to make you engage more into nonsense and fantasy, because I never hear from any of these people. And I'd like to hear from him. He's right down the street from me. He could walk over to my house almost and take a look at my stuff. If he wants real education, it's wonderful to have equal opportunity for everybody. But if you're learning just nonsense, that's not much of an opportunity that I see.